Part 6. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womang. Chapter 51. He struck out with a light palm, and the powerful palm wind continued to rage with Lin Feng's movements. Before his palm even touched them, he knocked them to the ground, vomiting blood. How could Lin Feng be so powerful? All the disciples looked at Su Liang in horror. Although they were not very powerful, they could still tell that Lin Feng's strength had probably exceeded the Zhang realm. Could it be that he has reached the innate realm? As soon as he thought about this, he looked at Lin Feng, who was more powerful than me. All the disciples were frightened. Someone immediately informed Lin Feng of Su Liang's residence. Senior brother Su, he should still live in Qin in senior sister's room. How dare you, Su Liang, live with your junior sister? Lin Feng roared angrily and immediately set off to Qin Benjiao's room. Su Liang, today, Lin Feng, will definitely kill you. Running all the way, Lin Feng soon arrived in Qin Benjiao's room. However, to his surprise, when he opened the door, he saw that there was no one in the room. Su Liang isn't here? How could he not be here? In anger, even if he missed the attack, Lin Feng still broke into the room, smashed everything in it, and looked for traces of Lin Feng in every corner. And at the same time, on the other side, Qin Benjiao, who had already broken through as a master, also returned to the sect at this time. The first thing Qin Benjiao did when she stepped into the sect was to happily go to her room to have sex. Humph, Su Liang definitely didn't expect that he would come back so soon, right? Go back quickly, you have to give Su Liang a surprise. Then, in Qin Benjiao's room, Qin Benjiao and Lin Feng happened to meet each other. Qin Benjiao, who had been away from the sect for many days, naturally didn't know that because Su Liang moved to Tan Qinji's courtyard, he was not here at all at the moment. After finally returning to the sect, Qin Benjiao, who wanted to surprise her man, walked into the room, but she didn't see her man at all. As far as the eye can see, there are only broken rooms and utensils scattered on the ground. Why, how could this happen? How could there be traces of the battle in his own room? After he left, Su Liang should have been living here. And now, Su Liang is not here. Could it be that Su Liang has encountered something unexpected and his life or death is uncertain at this moment? Thinking in her mind, Qin Benjiao's pretty face turned pale, she stumbled and almost fell to the ground. Who on earth, dared to take action against Su Liang? I, Qin Benjiao, swear that if something happens to Su Liang, I will let everyone in the world be buried with him. After getting through the initial heartbreaking sadness, Qin Benjiao's face immediately turned cold. Apparently, she had started to turn dark because of her own speculation. At this moment, Lin Feng's figure appeared in the room. Looking at Qin Benjiao with joy on his face, Lin Feng shouted in surprise, "Junior sister." Hearing Lin Feng's voice, Qin Benjiao's face was expressionless. "Did you do everything here? So, Su Liang disappeared because of you?" Hearing this, Lin Feng was stunned for a moment, and then he wanted to open his mouth to defend himself. He admitted that it was indeed his problem that the room was so messy, but Su Liang, he was looking for it too. But Qin Benjiao didn't give Lin Feng a chance to defend himself, and said coldly, "Lin Feng, Su Liang is kind and has given you many opportunities, but you still dare to hurt Su Liang. Su Liang doesn't want to kill you, but I, Qin Benjiao, have no such worries." The words have fallen. Clap it away with one palm. Puff. Lin Feng couldn't resist at all, so he was suppressed by Qin Benjiao with the palm of his hand, completely becoming Qin Benjiao's stepping stone. Su Liang didn't even have time to take action, and even before he saw Lin Feng was completely defeated. 3 levels of innateness. Oh, what does it mean in front of the power of the master? And just then, Su Liang, who heard the commotion here, had already rushed over from Tan Qinji. The moment Su Liang stepped into the courtyard, he saw Qin Benjiao and Lin Feng, who had already fought against each other. What's happening here? Lin Feng is indeed still alive, so he comes to seek revenge on himself? If that's the case, why was he knocked over by his girlfriend? Lin Feng would really fight Benjiao? Qin Benjiao on the other side completely lost her previous cold anger when she saw Su Liang. Moment. Pouting his lips, he rushed towards Su Liang with tears in his eyes. Su Liang. Qin Benjiao held Su Liang in her arms and hugged her hard a few times. Then her eyes looked at Su Liang with great concern. Su Liang, are you doing well these days? Are you injured? Su Liang shook his head, stretched out his hand and touched Qin Benjiao's head. With your master taking care of me in the sect, how could I get hurt? As for you, did you encounter any danger during this trip? The two people looked so affectionate, which made Lin Feng, who was knocked aside, furious. Su Liang. Lin Feng reluctantly stood up, and when he turned his hands, a jade tablet appeared in his hand. You robbed my junior sister. This is a life and death hatred. If I don't kill you, I, Lin Feng, will go to hell and I will not feel comfortable. Even if I am seriously injured by my junior sister now, I will still kill you. Having said that, he threw the jade tablet in front of him and used his hand to make a magic spell to detonate the jade tablet of immortality in a desperate fight. Feeling the increasingly violent aura on the immortal jade monument, he looked at Lin Feng's crazy expression. Qin Benjiao sighed and said rather disappointedly, Senior brother, you have really changed. You are no longer the kind-hearted and generous senior brother who was dedicated to seeking the truth. Volume 1 Chapter 62 I really want to do it, but my fairy girlfriend won't give me a chance. Junior sister, if you weren't coaxed away by this despicable villain Su Liang, why would I be like this? Lin Feng said sadly and angrily. However, Qin Benjiao no longer listened to Lin Feng's words at all. Instead, she turned to Su Liang and said, Su Liang, stand back. Let's fight later so that it doesn't affect you. In Qin Benjiao's view, she and Lin Feng were far more powerful than Su Liang, so she naturally wanted to protect her men behind her. This is also her way of caring for Su Liang. Subsequently, just after Su Liang stood in the safe area, Qin Benjiao no longer had any scruples and decisively attacked Lin Feng. The battle between a strong master and the third level of innateness is naturally a one-sided killing. With just a few palms, Lin Feng had no ability to resist and was knocked to the ground by Qin Benjiao. But even so, Qin Benjiao still did not stop. Between punches and palms, Lin Feng's body exploded, and Qin Benjiao vomited blood from the blows. It was extremely miserable. For Lin Feng, fighting with his favorite junior sister and being severely injured by the junior sister was already a brilliance to his body and spirit. Looking at Lin Feng, who was like a sandbag, being beaten back and forth by Qin Benjiao, vomiting blood and looking gloomy and desperate, Su Liang felt a little unbearable. Tragic, really tragic. Thinking about being beaten to death by the person you love most makes you feel desperate. Then, Su Liang couldn't help but persuade, Benjiao, Lin Feng is definitely no match for you, so you should be gentler in your attack. However, faced with Su Liang's persuasion, Qin Benjiao turned her head and said seriously, Su Liang, you are so kind. One sentence made Su Liang extremely uncomfortable. Am I kind? Isn't this a joke? I've already snatched you away, how can this be called kindness? This feeling of being misunderstood and unable to defend myself is really frustrating. I don't know how long it took to fight. Finally, Qin Benjiao finally stopped. Lin Feng, who was beaten like a dead dog, was naturally unable to detonate the Jade Monument of Immortality. Then, the Jade Monument of Immortality that Lin Feng had relied on was snatched away by Qin Benjiao, and Lin Feng's mark was easily erased. See this? Lin Feng said, oh, If such a treasure falls into the hands of junior sister, it can be regarded as the last gift I leave to junior sister. However, immediately afterwards, he saw Qin Binjao giving the immortal jade tablet to Suliang. Sulang, this jade tablet looks like a good thing, so I'll give it to you. Seeing this scene, Lin Feng immediately became jealous, and the hatred for Suliang in his heart almost reached the sky. Suliang, you took away my junior sister, and now you want to take away my treasure. You are deceiving me, it's too much. Immediately, he looked at Qin Binjao's beautiful face with despair in his heart. Junior sister, you must have indulged this despicable and shameless person like Suliang too much. Why, you were never like this to me before. Qin Binjao didn't care at all about Lin Feng's words. Instead, she urged Suliang, Sulang, hurry up and leave a mark on this jade tablet. At this time, Lin Feng couldn't bear it anymore and angrily shouted, Suliang, you have been hiding behind junior sister, what kind of skills do you have? If you have the ability, you can fight me. In this regard, Suliang was helpless, spreading his hands and saying, I want to, but Binjao doesn't give me a chance at all. What can I do? How could he not listen to what his girlfriend said? But I have to say. Suliang finally discovered that his white-haired fairy was a very protective guard. Suliang, you and I are incompatible with each other. Lin Feng stood up with difficulty and glared at Suliang angrily. In that broken body, the few remaining true energy continued to surge. Today, even if I die here, I will kill you. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 52. Obviously, he was going to fight to the death with Suliang. But right now, a mysterious figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone, and with a roll of black bubbles, he was about to take Lin Feng away. Saw this scene. Tan Qinjia, who has been paying attention to this place secretly, is about to take action and leave this mysterious man behind. However, facing Tan Qinjia's moves, this mysterious figure used cunning tactics to make all of Tan Qinjia's moves useless. Without leaving any trace, the mysterious figure took Lin Feng away from here. Looking at the direction where the mysterious figure disappeared, Tan Qinjia was expressionless, but in her heart, she was constantly thinking about the identity of that person. Being able to escape easily in her hands, this person's strength should not be underestimated. After packing everything up, Qin Binjao threw herself into Suliang's arms with joy on her face, wanting to have sex with her man. Sulang, I'm back. Suliang was not polite and hugged Qin Binjao in his arms. After not seeing her for a few days, he really missed his girlfriend. After hugging him for a moment, Qin Binjao pushed Suliang away, his eyes wandering back and forth on Suliang. Let me see how you are doing in the sect, Sulang, since I haven't been here these days. Suliang smiled and shook his head. What can happen to me? Qin Binjao shook her head. Before I left, I asked Master to take care of you, Sulang. Master is taking care of you. Are you doing well? At this point, Qin Binjao looked slightly worried. Master, her character is too cold and scary. She doesn't have a good attitude towards anyone except me. Although Master will definitely take care of you, I am also worried that you will be wronged by Master. Hearing this, Suliang was slightly embarrassed. Cold and scary? It is indeed cold and scary, but it is not towards myself. On the contrary, my sister is quite enthusiastic towards me. Recalling every detail of his relationship with Tan Qinjia during these days in his mind, Suliang nodded and said, Don't worry, your master has taken good care of her. However, Suliang's words were directly misunderstood by Qin Binjao. People like master are so cruel to him sometimes. Even the sect leader doesn't show any pretentiousness. How could he take good care of Sulang? Sulang must be speaking for his master. He doesn't want our master-disciple relationship to be damaged because of him. Sure enough, his own Sulang has always been thinking about himself. Thinking of this, Tan Kinja was even more moved. Qin Benjao's cheeks were flushed, and the water was flowing, and she was already very emotional. After a long separation, Sulang was always thinking about himself. How could he not repay the favor? Moving forward, Qin Benjao hugged Sulang and kept moving. Sulang, let's go practice together. That's right, I want to repay you too. Hearing this, Sulang looked at his girlfriend's blushing cheeks. At this moment, Qin Benjao's eyes were moist, and inexplicable emotions were flowing in them. Her brows and eyes were full of charm, and her fragrant tongue stretched out to lick her moist red lips. The white-haired fairy is so charming, it really makes people feel excited and hard to resist. Fourth update, still 50 votes short of 10,000 next week. Volume 1 # Chapter 63. The fairy worked hard to show off her husband and was beaten online. Qin Benjao was charming and seductive, and she said words that were completely inconsistent with her usual cold personality, which made Sulang even more uncomfortable. I haven't seen you for a few days. I wonder if your cultivation skills, Benjao, have deteriorated. Sulang leaned close to Qin Benjao's ear and whispered. Immediately, he picked up Qin Benjao, walked to the bed, and lay down on it. This moment, the atmosphere in the room was so charming that the two people, who were having a heated exchange of feelings, could clash at any time. But at this moment, tap tap tap, a sound of footsteps suddenly sounded. Ahem. Tan Kinja appeared at the door and coughed twice, immediately interrupting the charming atmosphere between the two. I came at the wrong time, didn't I? While talking, Tan Kinja looked at the two people who hurriedly got up from the bed and arranged their clothes, and her mood was quite complicated. These two people don't pay too much attention to the occasion, right? It's broad daylight, you've just come back, and you're about to do something you can't explain. Feeling the look in Tan Kinja's eyes, Sulang felt slightly embarrassed. Hearing Tan Kinja's words just now, he almost said that you came at the right time. Fortunately, I didn't say it out loud. Otherwise, I might have died here today, right? Qin Benjao, who was on the side, had not seen her master for a long time. Instead of looking happy, she pursed her lips and said rather dissatisfiedly, Master, you don't pay too much attention to the atmosphere. It's not like my disciple won't go see you. You can leave directly and wait for your disciple to pass. After hearing this, Tan Kinja began to feel a little unhappy. Snored. This disciple of my own is really too unreserved. It doesn't matter if you don't pay attention to the occasion, but you still dare to be dissatisfied with your teacher? But maybe she didn't even think of it. The reason why she was unhappy actually had nothing to do with being reserved or not. Tan Kinja was just unhappy when she saw the close contact between Sulang and Qin Benjao. Forget it. Qin Benjao shook her head. Master, come in and sit down. Say it. Then he pulled Tan Kinja into the house, asked her to sit at the table, and served her tea. Looking at her master holding a cup of tea, Qin Benjao suddenly asked curiously, Master, I haven't seen you for a few days. I see that your face has become much more rosy recently and you have become more beautiful. Master, have you found any good maintenance methods? Or is there any other reason? Are you looking rosy? Touching her cheek subconsciously, Tan Kinja recalled carefully for a moment. The difference between her recent self and her original self seemed to be that there was another Sulang beside her. So, is his change also because of Sulang? However, Sulang is his apprentice's man. Thinking of this, Tan Kinja felt quite guilty. She definitely couldn't say these words to her apprentice. Then, Tan Kinja put on a serious face, pretending to be cool, stretched out her hand, and hit her apprentice on the head. Why, now that you have become a grandmaster, do you dare to tease the master? Well, Qin Benjao whimpered softly and said aggrievedly, "What? I also care about master." Immediately, he threw himself into Suliang's arms with an aggrieved look on his face. "Suliang, master, she bullied me. I only care about master, but master actually beat me. You have to stand up for me." "Well, Suliang, I'm not happy." While talking, Qin Benjao nuzzled in Suliang's arms, looking like she was asking for comfort. Suliang helplessly patted Qin Benjao's head and comforted her softly. "As for getting ahead. Are you kidding me? You can't offend master but I can? Do you know that these days, when I see your master, I have to hide away?" However, this intimate gesture between the two made the banquet beside them furious. "Okay, Suliang, Qin Benjao, you two showed affection and tortured dogs, but you actually tortured your master? Bah, what a treason. It seems it is really necessary for him, his beloved disciple, to teach him a lesson." Standing up, Tan Kinja came behind Qin Benjao, lifted Qin Benjao's collar. "Yao follow me." Then, he turned to look at Suliang and said with a smile, "I have something to do and I have to take Yao away for a while. You can do it yourself." Hiss. "Tan Kinja, what does she want to do? Could it be that the sword in the hand of the loving mother struck the wanderer?" Looking at Tan Kinja's smile, Suliang felt very frightened and shuddering. "No, I don't want to go with master." Qin Benjao was very reluctant and had no choice but to resist her master. She was carried out by her master and walked out. She had no choice but to stretch out her hand and ask for help from her man. "Suliang, please help me quickly, I don't want to leave with your master." To this, Suliang was very helpless. "Do you think my words will work? Do you know that your master held me down in the pool a few days ago and did this and that? I'm sorry, Benjao, although I love you very much, I really can't help you." Then, soon, the white-haired fairy's pitiful voice begging for mercy came from another room. "Master, master, and disciple know that they are wrong. Master, be gentler." The voice was soft and waxy, pitiful, and occasionally even contained a strange moan. It was really too sultry and made people daydream about it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 53. And the Other Side. Suliang, who was left alone, listened to his girlfriend's screams for a moment, then changed his attention, took out the jade tablet of immortality, and observed it carefully. This thing, which had been in Lin Feng's hands before, was emitting strange fluctuations. When it was about to be detonated by Lin Feng, even Suliang felt a bit frightened and dangerous. Suliang judged that this thing must be a treasure. After observing for a moment, as Suliang's spirit continued to sink in, the jade tablet of immortality began to flicker, flickering on and off. If you feel it carefully, you will know that there is an invisible resonance between this jade tablet and Suliang. And in Suliang's perception, this immortal jade tablet contains a wonderful artistic conception of creation, and it also has an endless pure power. If you can make good use of it, no matter how serious the injury is, as long as you don't die on the spot, you can recover. And this is also the reason why Lin Feng can recover so quickly. Putting his consciousness into the artistic conception of creation, Suliang concentrated and held his breath, and began to comprehend this powerful artistic conception. After a while, the spiritual energy all over his body poured into Suliang's body uncontrollably. In just an instant, Suliang's cultivation level had already broken through. When Suliang came to his senses, he immediately realized that the realization he had just made allowed his cultivation to break through the 9th level of building a treasure. Suliang clenched his fists and punched out. That powerful fist wind could break a stone in the courtyard from a long distance away. This power. I'm afraid I can defeat him dozens of times before he broke through. Immediately afterwards, Suliang shouted in a low voice, Guiyu Engine from Minghai. In an instant, Minghai Giwenjin was activated, and Suliang immediately discovered that the range of the spiritual energy he could mobilize expanded again, reaching as much as 5 meters. Suliang nodded with satisfaction, feeling a little emotional. As expected of the protagonist, his luck is indeed powerful, and random opportunities can actually make him make such great progress. Volume 1 # Chapter 64 Qing Leng Fairy Ying Ying Ying, the real Black Hand appears. After a while, the sound in the other room stopped, and Qin Binjao finally walked out of it. However, at this moment, Qin Binjao's mouth was indeed pursed, her eyes were filled with tears, and she looked miserable. Without saying a word, she threw herself directly into Suliang's arms. Suliang, Master, she bullied me, please take me away. I don't want to see Master again, I'm so scared. Seeing his girlfriend's appearance, Suliang couldn't help but hold his forehead, feeling helpless. The persona of my girlfriend, a cold fairy, has completely collapsed under my mother-in-law. Whose cold fairy have you seen say that I am afraid? Binjao, how old are you? But after all, she is my girlfriend, so I must pamper her. Moreover, for my girlfriend to behave like this towards me, it is obvious that she loves and trusts me to the extreme. Moreover, needless to say, my girlfriend's look is completely different from usual, but she is still very cute. Then, Suliang held Qin Binjao in his arms, touched her head lovingly, and began to apologize on behalf of Tan Kinja. I'm sorry, Master, she definitely didn't mean it, so don't be angry. At this moment, Tan Kinja followed closely and walked out of the room. But then, she had no intention of staying any longer, and instead walked directly out of the room. See this. Suliang and Qin Binjao followed him out and invited, it's almost dinner time, why not have a meal before leaving? I'm cooking today. If you want to eat something, just tell me. Facing Suliang's invitation, Tan Kinja looked coldly and shook her head to refuse, no, I won't disturb you two getting along. After that, he turned around and left without hesitation. Looking at Tan Kinja's leaving figure, Suliang scratched his head, quite puzzled. How did he and Binjao provoke Tan Kinja? Why does it always feel like she left out of anger? Even Qin Binjao asked with some confusion, strange, did I really offend Master? How do you feel? Since I came back this time, Master has hardly given me a good look. Even when Master left just now, I felt that Master was angry with us. Faced with his girlfriend's doubts, Suliang did not dare to say anything more and decisively changed the subject. Don't worry, your master's temperament is like this. How could she be angry with you? Binjao, did this Grandmaster trial go well? Hearing this, Qin Binjao suddenly became interested, took Suliang's hand, and walked into the house. Come on, come into the house and I'll have a talk with you. From the looks of it, it was obvious that he was planning to have a long conversation. Tan Kinja, who had already left, felt mixed emotions in her heart at the moment, and could not calm down for a long time. Although Qin Binjao is her apprentice, she has seen him since she was a child, and their relationship is extremely close. But because of the emotional blockade, she treated her apprentice, even though she doted on him, she never had much emotional fluctuations. But this time, she actually had such a big mood swing towards her apprentice, and even gave her own apprentice a lesson. This is a very bad phenomenon. At this moment, Tan Kinja happened to pass by Ren Changshen's room. Looking at the closed door, no movement could be heard, and there was no hint of anyone's presence. Tan Kinja blinked, Ren Changshen was not there? This is strange. The mysterious man just appeared to rescue Lin Feng, and Ren Changsheng happened to be gone. Could it be that Ren Changsheng is that mysterious person? Thinking in her mind, Tan Qinjia had some doubts about Ren Changsheng. But then, these doubts were dispelled by her. She and Ren Changsheng had been together for 10 years, and although they respected each other as guests, they had never had any intimate behavior. But Tan Qinjia still believed in Ren Changsheng as a human being. How could Ren Changsheng, such a simple and honest good man, be that mysterious person? That's why Tan Qinjia never doubted Ren Changsheng at all. After being rescued by a mysterious man, Lin Feng was taken to a secret place. Ahem. Lin Feng coughed twice, and a little blood spurted out. Immediately, he looked at the mysterious man with misty eyes and shouted in surprise, "Master!" If Qin Binjao were here, she would probably be quite surprised when she heard Lin Feng's words. Only because the two of them have known each other for a long time, and Lin Feng has a deep love for Qin Binjao and has never hidden it. But even so, Qin Binjao didn't know that Lin Feng actually had a master. To be precise, no one in the entire Tiandao sect knew that Lin Feng actually had a master. After teaching for several years without being known to anyone, Lin Feng's master could be described as extremely mysterious. "Yes, I am a teacher." The mysterious man nodded and turned to face Lin Feng, revealing his face hidden under his hood. It turned out to be the leader of Tiandao sect, Ren Changsheng. "Cheer, if my master hadn't taken action, were you really planning to die there today?" Ren Changsheng sighed, seemingly very kind. But no one knows what kind of undercurrent is underneath this kind face. "Thank you, master, for saving your life." Lin Feng knelt down and thanked him. "Disciple, I have to understand. If the enemy Suliang is not eliminated and the junior sister is not snatched back, how can the disciple die like this?" "As long as you know." Ren Changsheng nodded, beckoned, "Come, let me heal your wounds." Facing the person he trusted, Lin Feng walked over without doubting that he was there. However, the next moment, Ren Changsheng made a sudden move and instantly controlled Lin Feng in his hands, setting up shackles so that he could not move at all. Being betrayed suddenly, Lin Feng couldn't believe it. "Master, what are you going to do?" "But I didn't expect it." Ren Changsheng's eyes showed contempt, and his tone was even more disdainful. "Cheater, you are a little too confident. You can even say that you are stupid. Do you think there are really people who are unconditionally good to you in this world? If I don't want you for anything, why should I train you? Besides, your talent may be good, but with your current strength, what does it matter when facing a strong person?" While talking, Ren Changsheng kept arranging the secret place he was in, and then put his hands on Lin Feng, constantly absorbing Lin Feng's luck. This is to go into seclusion and refine Lin Feng's huge destiny. But as he continued to absorb, he felt that Lin Feng's luck seemed to be reduced a lot. Most of the luck has disappeared inexplicably. Without thinking much, Ren Changsheng continued to absorb and smelt, and soon, Lin Feng's luck disappeared. Immediately, belonging to Lin Feng, the darkened fate of the protagonist appeared in the sky. Feeling his luck gradually melting, an inexplicable twisted smile gradually appeared on Ren Changsheng's face. His fundamental purpose in recruiting disciples was to find a carrier to seize the body, so that he could truly be worthy of Tan Qinjia. As for the deep relationship between master and disciple, Ren Changsheng has always been very disdainful. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 54. This is his true face beneath the good guy appearance. As for Lin Feng, the carrier was originally quite perfect, enough to meet Ren Changsheng's requirements. As a result, in the middle, Suliang disrupted the situation, causing Lin Feng to be thrown off a cliff, and his plans for several years were almost destroyed in one fell swoop. This was also the reason why he targeted Suliang. But now, this route is a little more. He and Tan Kinja have been together for 10 years, but Tan Kinja still treats him without words. And Suliang was able to be intimate with Tan Kinja in just a few days. Suliang's concern for being close to Tan Kinja made Ren Changsheng very jealous and wanted to kill him. Volume 1 # Chapter 65 Special Gift, White Silk, Forever Divine. After being apart for many days and meeting again after a long absence, Qin Binjao acted particularly gentle and clingy at this moment. Pulling Suliang into the room and just closing the door, Qin Binjao couldn't wait and threw herself into Suliang's arms. She hugged Suliang and rubbed her head back and forth in Suliang's arms, refusing to let go. It seemed that he wanted to make up for all the missing time with Suliang these days. Okay, Binjao, let go first. It's a little difficult to walk if you hold her like this, Suliang said helplessly. However, Qin Binjao shook her head. No, we haven't seen each other for a few days, won't Suliang let me hold him? Said. He actually jumped up, clamped his slender legs around Suliang's waist, wrapped his arms around Suliang's neck, and placed his head on Suliang's shoulders. It was like a koala, its whole body hanging on Suliang's body. Seeing his girlfriend's appearance, Suliang was helpless, but he was a little happy in his heart. Being so attached to him and missing him so much after only being apart for a few days is enough to prove his girlfriend's feelings for him. So, what else can be done? Of course he doted on his girlfriend. Then, Suliang patted Qin Binjao's head lovingly and said helplessly, well, I really can't do anything to you. Immediately, he simply held Qin Binjao's legs and carried her directly onto the bed. After a while, all the restraints on the two of them disappeared, and a new round of training officially began. The sun was setting and the new moon was in the sky. In the fairy's boudoir, two people were having a long conversation. They continued to practice until late at night, until even the white-haired fairy began to beg for mercy. Suliang, I can't do it anymore. Qin Binjao was dripping with sweat, biting her lower lip, her eyes were full of confusion and intoxication, her eyebrows were filled with charming thoughts, her cheeks were flushed, and sometimes she would spit out her tongue and lick her red lips. This look was extremely charming. Thinking back to the past, Qin Binjao was as cold as a flower on a high mountain, with indifferent eyes that made people afraid to approach. When she faced those geniuses before, her cold demeanor remained unchanged. Her cold and aloof face showed a more noble temperament, and she went her own way and ignored those geniuses. But when dealing with her own men, the white-haired fairy is like a little woman, showing her gentle and charming nature, which is completely different from her cold appearance. Call. Suliang let out a sigh of relief. He had been on an expedition from day to night, and had not eaten enough. He also felt a little bit tired. Then, Suliang unsheathed his sword, lay down, held his girlfriend in his arms, and whispered, "Get some rest." Qin Binjao nodded, moved a little, found a comfortable position, pillowed her head in her boyfriend's arms, and began to talk about her trial process. From the first time I arrived at the trial place, to how I passed through each level of trial, and finally how I defeated a group of talented and powerful enemies and gained the inheritance. Qin Binjao explained every detail to her man one by one. There was always a happy smile on her face, and the charm between her eyebrows could not dissipate for a long time. When facing Suliang, the white-haired fairy's cold demeanor completely disappeared. Suliang didn't feel bored either. He played with the soft and delicate body in his arms and listened patiently to his girlfriend's words, adding a few words from time to time, sometimes with laughter. There was a warm scene in the whole room. Sudden. Ah! Qin Binjao seemed to remember something and screamed, "Suliang, I also harvested a strange treasure from the secret realm. The shape is very familiar, but the material is very strange. Even I have never seen it before. Wait a moment, I will take out the things and show them to you." Okay. Suliang nodded, and when Qin Benjao said this, he became interested. After rummaging for a while, Qin Benjao took a pair of long white things and put them in front of Suliang. Sulang, look, what are these? It looks like a pair of socks. However, this material and shape don't seem to be socks. When Suliang saw this thing for the first time, he began to have some doubts, but he couldn't be sure. After all, this thing shouldn't appear in this world, right? But when he took this thing in his hands, he was instantly sure. White silk. How did this thing appear in this world? Suliang looked carefully at the pair of white silk clothes in his hand. Although the style was different from modern styles, they were pretty much the same. After holding it in his hand and rubbing it carefully, Suliang discovered that the material seemed to be extremely good. Not to mention anything else, this hand feel is excellent, killing all modern gadgets instantly. He looked at the white silk in his hand, and then at his girlfriend's slender, white legs. Hiss. Suliang took a breath of air and was extremely moved. Secret realm, no matter why you gave this thing to Benjao, well done. You are really good at being able to navigate this secret realm. Seeing Suliang lost in thought while holding this thing, Qin Benjao asked again, Sulang, do you recognize this thing? Suliang came to his senses and nodded, of course I recognize him. This thing is indeed a sock. Immediately. Looking around Qin Benjao's body, Suliang came closer and whispered, Benjao, I want to see you put it on. Well. Although Qin Benjao's pretty face was slightly red, she still nodded when she saw her man's expectant look. But then, she felt a little embarrassed, but, this thing is so long, how should I wear it? If you are worried, I will teach you. Suliang immediately took over the job, and then approached Qin Benjao and guided her step by step. Then I saw it. The white-haired fairy raised her jade feet high, and then stretched them into the long white silk tube. With a slight lift, the long white silk tube went extremely smoothly along the slender white legs, and finally stopped just above the knees. The slender jade legs wrapped in a long white silk tube, although covered, are more pure and holy. Under the restraint of the long white silk tube, the shape of the slender jade legs is fully displayed. This perfect proportion and pure senses make people unable to resist. I want to kneel down and lick. Paired with the slightly cold and holy temperament of the white-haired fairy, it is absolutely amazing. Suliang kept watching, his eyes widened, as if he was seeing the most beautiful scenery in the world, and he couldn't bear to look away. Wonderful, wonderful, I can play with these legs for the rest of my life. It had to be said that Rao had modern memory and had seen so much that Suliang couldn't help but want to hug and lick her. Feeling the fiery and aggressive gaze of her boyfriend, the white-haired fairy instantly blushed, and a hint of shyness appeared in her heart. But this thing called white silk has a first-class touch and is quite comfortable when worn on the body. Then Qin Benjao stood up and walked around happily. Sulang, look, do I look good? Although she only wore a piece of white silk, this white silk still made the already holy white-haired fairy look more elegant and noble. This time, it turns out that this thing should only exist in heaven. Volume 1 # Chapter 66, Fairy Doe Master, are you envious of our love? Seeing Bai Si's addition, his extremely holy girlfriend, Suliang felt his heart skip a beat. As the saying goes, with white silk on her body, boundless power, such a stunning girlfriend, if she doesn't do anything, is she still a man? Then Suliang blurted out, Benjao, do you want to know the biggest use of this white silk? Qin Benjao looked curious, what else can this thing do besides wearing it? Of course it's used for something. Suliang, the one at Lotus Mountain, had an inexplicable smile on his face and said, if you want to learn, I'll teach you. But as soon as he finished speaking, Suliang began to hesitate. This way. Although I feel happy, is it too exciting for my girlfriend? Even if you really want to do it, you should do it step by step, right? But when he looked at his girlfriend and saw her eyes widened with curiosity on her face, the thoughts in his heart began to rise again, and he gradually couldn't hold it back anymore. To do it or not to do it, that is the question. Constantly struggling in his heart, Suliang felt that he was constantly hovering on the edge of crime, and he was getting closer and closer to the abyss. And just then, Qin Benjao nodded and said, "Okay." With one sentence, Suliang completely broke his guard, and all the hesitations and worries in his heart disappeared. "Come, let me teach you." Holding his girlfriend's hand, Suliang pushed her directly onto the bed and began to guide the white-haired fairy on the new uses of stockings. Holding his girlfriend's slender white jade feet and feeling the comfortable, warm, and soft feel in his hands, Suliang placed them in the right position and guided them to start rubbing. "This is how this thing is used." Seeing her boyfriend's actions, Qin Benjao's eyes widened and she couldn't help but open her mouth, looking shocked. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 55. But as the covering thing gradually became moist and sticky, the white-haired fairy seemed to be getting better and began to move on her own without any guidance. Like a self-taught master, various styles were performed in turn. The white-haired fairy licked her red lips with her fragrant tongue, her eyes were dim and gradually became astringent. Then, this night, Qin Benjao and Suliang have truly unlocked new uses of white silk. One has learned new knowledge in practicing, and the other is simply enjoying it. This is called a win-win. White silk, epic equipment, increases attack speed, increases endurance, reduces skill cooldown, and restores mana. This night is still very long. Knowing that Suliang was back, Tan Kinja deliberately did not disturb her apprentice. But she never expected that her filial disciple would simply forget about her master. There was no movement even from Suliang's side, and he was nowhere to be seen all day long. For 3 days in a row, neither Qin Benjao nor Suliang came to see me. Sitting alone in the boudoir, looking at the empty furnishings in the boudoir, no one was seen all day long, lifeless. True, lonely old man, Tan Kinja. This feeling of loneliness and desolation made Tan Kinja, who was always used to being alone and had a cold temperament, feel very uncomfortable and lonely. It was as if something of his had been taken away. Thinking about a few days ago, before his apprentice came back, Suliang stayed with him all the time, making desserts for him and walking with him. Although the intimacy was too close, it was still fulfilling and interesting. But now, there was no movement all of a sudden, as if she had been abandoned. Tan Kinja felt inexplicably lonely and unhappy in her heart. Humph, if they don't come to me, why can't I go to them? I am definitely not someone who can't help being lonely, nor is I someone who misses my apprentice and Suliang. I only care about the cultivation of the two of them. I don't want the two of them to meet again. They are unbearably lonely and will definitely waste their cultivation in the past few days. You have to supervise them yourself. Yes, this is just an ordinary visit. Thinking in her mind, Tan Kinja stood up decisively and walked out of Suliang and Qin Benjao's residence. In the fairy boudoir. Although it was already 3 o'clock in the morning, Qin Benjao was still curled up in her boyfriend's arms, unwilling to move. She just wanted to kiss and hug her. Dong dong. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and immediately, Tan Kinja's voice appeared outside the door. "Yao, open the door. Master is here to visit you." Master is here? After blinking, Qin Benjao felt very reluctant to leave her boyfriend's arms and didn't want to get up. But that is Master. Really, why did Master suddenly remember to come see me? I can't hold my boyfriend anymore, I'm not happy. Then, he had no choice but to get up from the bed and said, "Sulang, get up quickly, Master is here." "Ah, Sulang, Where did you throw my underwear yesterday? While talking, Qin Benjao was busy getting dressed. And outside the room, listening to the movement and exclamations in the room, I was stimulated again, and my face instantly turned cold. Not long after, Qin Benjao in the room finally packed everything and went out to greet her. "Master, please come in quickly." After bringing his master into the house, Qin Benjao served him some tea. But he said seriously, "Master, you are busy with work, and the two of us have grown up and can take care of ourselves. So, Master, you don't have to come every day. Master, don't disturb their honeymoon." Listening to his girlfriend's words, Suliang didn't know what his girlfriend was thinking. "All I can say is, filial piety, my girlfriend is so filial." "Benjao, I didn't agree with the fact that the award of motherly kindness and daughterly filial piety was not awarded to you." But Tan Kinja didn't understand Qin Benjao's words, and she didn't forget to tell her apprentice, "Yao, you have to understand that cultivation is the right way. How can you indulge in the love between your children before you climb the great road?" Listening to her master's words, although there was no evidence, Qin Benjao always felt that her master seemed a little sour. Could it be that his master is envious of him? "Are you envious that your relationship with Sulang is so good?" After thinking about it, Qin Benjao retorted, "But master, you are obviously married. Could it be that, master, you and the sect master have been married for a long time, and you are an old married couple, so don't you have passion?" Hearing such a bold statement from her apprentice, Tan Kinja's eyelids twitched slightly, and the look she looked at her apprentice gradually became dangerous. Oops! Seeing this scene, Suliang on the side immediately felt bad. "Hey, Benjao, why don't you pick up which pot you want to drink? Although you are said to be a cold fairy, don't you have too little emotional intelligence? Looking at you like this, if you say a few more words, either your master will be angry or you will be beaten by her. No, no, we can't go on like this. One is his girlfriend, the other is what he calls sister, and the two are master and apprentice. Could it be that I could really watch one of the two people lie down today?" Then Suliang quickly spoke out to calm the atmosphere, "Ahem, Benjao, why are you talking?" Immediately. Then he looked at Tan Kinja, "Benjao is still young and not sensible, so don't mind. However, it's better not to speak." With this opening, both of their eyes were focused on Suliang. "It's over." Suliang suddenly realized that he was being targeted. "There are very few comments I can't read complaints these 2 days. It's easy to damage one's moral integrity." Volume 1 # Chapter 67, Taking Advantage of His Man in Front of His Apprentice. The master and the disciple are fighting among themselves, and the two most beautiful people are fighting each other. Logically speaking, for Suliang, who was on the sidelines, he just had to eat with peace of mind, and the most he could do was give some advice. But he can't afford to offend any of them, and he may not listen even if he tries to persuade them, so he still has to settle for peace of mind. But at this moment, Suliang had no intention of taking advantage of the situation. Who would have thought that he would be caught in the middle of an internal fight between master and disciple, which made him feel very uncomfortable. "Who did you provoke? Isn't it just a word of advice, as for targeting yourself?" At this moment, Tan Kinja, who was stabbed by Qin Benjao, actually took Suliang's arm directly in the name of her elders and said, "Suliang, please take care of your girlfriend. This rebellious disciple dares to tease the master like this. It's a little too much." After listening to Tan Kinja's words, her expression immediately became a little strange. Is this coquettishness? This must be coquettishness. Although Tan Kinja's tone is still a bit cold and her expression is not rich enough, these words must be coquettish, right? Can a cold and beautiful woman like Tan Kinja also act coquettishly? Suliang felt a little unbelievable. Seeing this, Qin Binjao on the side stretched out her hand to pull Suliang over and said with a cold face, "Master, Sulang is my disciple and your junior. You have to tell Sulang about this kind of thing, right? Too suitable. If you have any dissatisfaction with me, just tell me directly. It's better not to trouble Sulang." However, Tan Kinja snorted, "Your people." The words fell. Suddenly, he pulled Suliang into his arms, strangled Suliang's neck with one arm, and placed his head in front of the pair of proud peaks on his chest, directly performing a wave of fierce pressure. "No, from now on, my master will take Suliang away." Hearing this, Suliang's mouth almost twitched. "Madam, do you know that your speech is dangerous? What are you doing now? Could it be that you really can't stand the loneliness in the boudoir and want to compete with your apprentice?" "Certainly." Suliang naturally knew that Tan Kinja didn't have this idea, but her statement that she wanted to take him away now really made Suliang unable to complain. "Master, please, stop joking." Qin Binjao forced a smile. "Sulang is my disciple's man, how could you possibly compete with my disciple for people, don't you think so?" However, Tan Kinja shook her head and said seriously, "Disciple, I want to teach you a lesson today. If you don't have strength, you can't even protect a man. So, instead of being immersed in the love between children, it is better to seize the time to practice." "But master, I have already reached the master level." "So what if I'm a master?" "It's far from being a master." After hearing this, Qin Binjao was a little dissatisfied, and subconsciously took a step forward. Moment. Then they saw that Tan Kinja stretched out a hand. She didn't use any martial arts moves, but the true energy released by just one hand suppressed Qin Binjao on the spot, unable to move or resist at all. "Master, you can't do this." Qin Binjao struggled to no avail, so she had no choice but to protest with her lips pursed, looking aggrieved. But she didn't expect that her attitude would be met with even more serious contempt from Tan Kinja. "Yao, there's no need to be so pretentious. Have you ever thought that if someone else comes to rob Suliang, your cultivation can you handle it?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 56. Just like this. As he spoke, Tan Kinja's red lips were close to Suliang's ear, and her breath was soft and sweet, hitting Suliang's ear, feeling numb, but extremely comfortable. Right now, the two of them are about to kiss. Although Suliang should act like he would rather die than surrender, I have to say that this feeling quite exciting. If that's the case, what do you do to protect him? As she spoke, Tan Kinja moved her palms down her neck, bit by bit, across Suliang's clothes. Seeing that Suliang's clothes were not safe. While moving and looking at her apprentice's tearful appearance, Tan Kinja said, "You can't even resist as a master, so what else can you do to protect your man?" In front of the white-haired fairy, Tan Kinja, as the master, committed a crime against his wife. But she didn't have any such consciousness. Instead, she was still slapping her apprentice seriously. "Yao, have you ever thought about what you can do if a goblin behaves like your master when you go out? What can you rely on to protect your man?" Qin Binjao on the side looked at the scene in front of her. Her man was being played with by other women, but she couldn't do anything about it. Although that person is master. But Qin Binjao was still full of humiliation, biting her red lips, her beautiful eyes widened, her eyes red, looking aggrieved and tearful. "Master, I. The white-haired fairy almost choked with sobs and couldn't speak clearly. But Suliang, who was held hostage by Tan Kinja, felt even more uncomfortable. Opening his mouth, Suliang wanted to remind his sister not to go too far. Although she knew that she was taking the opportunity to educate her apprentice, she went too far. However, before he could speak, Tan Kinja's cold and indifferent eyes looked over, instantly making Suliang shut up. Snort. This guy Suliang really likes the new and hates the old. He has a girlfriend and he actually forgets his sister? Looking at her apprentice's aggrieved look, Tan Kinja looked incomprehensible. Immediately afterwards, then the double humiliation began. I don't know how long it will take. After experiencing a series of torture from his master, Qin Benjao's eyes were distracted, her expression was broken, and she looked like she was about to be spoiled. But she felt that she had understood her master's good intentions. Yes, what master said makes sense. Without strength, when something like this happens to me, I can only feel the humiliation alone, but there is nothing I can do about it. In this way, cultivation is indeed extremely important. Only, it's really hard work, master. In order to make myself understand this truth, master, who has never been close to the opposite sex, would be so close to Sulang. Master, she really paid too much. Then, Qin Benjao admitted her mistake and said, Master, I know I was wrong. Hearing what her disciple said, Tan Kinja let go of Suliang, walked to Qin Benjao, and touched Qin Benjao's head. Not bad, it's good to know that I was wrong. In the future, you know what to do, right? Moment. The master and apprentice who were fighting among themselves reconciled. Qin Benjao nodded, with determination on her face. Disciple understands that from now on, disciple will no longer be obsessed with beauty, but must work hard to practice. Yes, you can understand, it's not in vain for you to take so much pains as a teacher. Tan Kinja nodded with satisfaction. The filial disciple and the kind master formed a warm scene together. Only the beautiful Suliang was hiding in the corner, watching the scene with tears. It's over. Being played with by Tan Kinja like that, Suliang felt like he was no longer pure. But what made him helpless was that Tan Kinja's reason for playing was very fair. Looking at Tan Kinja's kind and satisfied expression, for a while, Suliang couldn't tell what Tan Kinja's true intention was. Are you taking the opportunity to take advantage of yourself, or are you really educating your apprentices? In the last 2 days, life and death will be determined tomorrow night. The subsequent plot will become more and more exciting. The final stage is simulated, and the master eats secretly in all kinds of ways. Volume 1 #Chapter 68 Dress, the fairy is so beautiful, the lady is so confident. After educating his apprentice well and showing kindness and filial piety, Tan Kinja left Suliang. Fast forward to the next day. Tan Kinja came again and walked into Suliang and Qin Benjao's room. And this time, Qin Benjao lost her last dissatisfaction, took Tan Kinja's hand and walked to the table. Master, please sit down quickly. Immediately, with a well-behaved look on his face, he made a pot of good tea and poured it for his master. Seeing his girlfriend's well-behaved appearance, Suliang was a little speechless. Did my girlfriend really realize her mistake, or was she afraid of her master? Benjao, you can't do this. Where did the energy you had yesterday and the day before yesterday go? But if you think about it carefully, if your girlfriend continues to complain, you may be the one who feels uncomfortable in the end. Forget it then, such a well-behaved white-haired fairy is quite nice. After pouring the tea, Qin Benjao pulled Suliang to sit down and asked, Master, why do you think of me here? This time, Qin Benjao didn't mean to be provocative and was really curious. Tan Kinja held a cup and drank lightly, and said, Girl, what's wrong with you? You have a boyfriend, did you even forget about hundreds of celebrity banquets? I see. Qin Benjao suddenly realized, that's right, it seems that the 100-sex celebrity banquet will be held soon. Tan Kinja nodded, yeah, you are my disciple of Tiandao sect who ranks first in talent, cultivation, and strength, and Suliang is only behind you, unrivaled. So, this time, I plan to take you two to participate. After hearing this, Suliang was a little confused. 100 celebrities banquet, what is that? Before Tan Kinja could speak, Qin Binjao explained, the so-called 100 Sects Celebrity Banquet is a gathering of hundreds of sects in Guanlin Prefecture. It will be held regularly. The location is uncertain, but will be notified in advance. This is not only a banquet used to connect the various sects, but it is also a loose alliance. The sects participating in the 100 Sects Celebrity Banquet can unite when necessary to jointly deal with foreign affairs, disasters, etc. I see. Suliang understood, so to speak, these 100 celebrity banquets were quite important. Tan Kinja looked at the two of them, time is running out, you two hurry up and pack up. When it's time to set off, I will summon you. After Tan Kinja left, Suliang and Qin Binjao began to choose slightly more formal clothes for attending the banquet. After some selection, Qin Binjao chose a pure white high-shaped palace dress and matched it with the white silk dress. The palace skirt fits perfectly and just outlines Qin Binjao's slender figure, making her look even more noble and pure. As for the high fork, the slender white legs are vaguely revealed, but the view is blocked by white silk. Not only does it not lose the fun, but it adds to the hazy and mysterious beauty. Coupled with Qin Binjao's perfect face, silver white hair, and plain white body, she is pure and noble, and it is perfect. Seeing his girlfriend looking like this, Suliang immediately gave her high approval. Not bad, Binjao, this outfit is a perfect match for you. Hiss, I can't believe that this most beautiful and noble woman in the world is actually my girlfriend. Hearing what her boyfriend said, Qin Binjao was filled with joy. Isn't she dressing up like this just to make her boyfriend praise her and like her? Immediately, she was keenly aware of the focus of her boyfriend's eyes. But she didn't feel much shy anymore. To this day, she and her man have never tried anything, and they are already very skilled at it. Stepping forward, Qin Binjao squatted in front of her man, her graceful curves clinging to her clothes clearly revealed, making her extremely alluring. Pulling back the shield, the white-haired fairy took the initiative to help, opened her red lips lightly, and then sheathed the sword. Hiss. Feeling the warmth and tightness, it was extremely narrow at first, then it opened up, and after dozens of steps, it became even tighter. Suliang gasped repeatedly and said he couldn't afford it. I have to say that my white-haired fairy has indeed become more and more playful after being with me. Not long after, everything was settled between the two of them, but someone came to pass on the news. Tan Kinja summoned Suliang. After hesitating for a while, Suliang explained to his girlfriend and then went to Tan Kinja's place. Entering the room, Suliang saluted and said, I've met Madam. Unexpectedly, Tan Kinja said quietly, why is it Madam again? Before, you always called me sister. That magnetic voice, paired with such a slightly resentful tone, was inexplicably a bit alluring. Just this sound made Suliang feel slightly moved. The giant sword that had just returned to its nest showed signs of being unsheathed again. But he still remained calm and suppressed all thoughts. Calm down, Suliang, the person in front of you is just your sister and your girlfriend's master. Seeing that Suliang didn't say anything, Tan Kinja didn't criticize anything, but said, okay, since you're here, help me pick out some clothes? Say it. Before Suliang could speak, Tan Kinja continued, this is my request as a sister. As a younger brother, you should also fulfill your responsibilities. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 57. This is not good. Suliang hesitated. But Tan Kinja didn't give him a chance to refuse. She directly pulled him to the wardrobe, pointed at the clothes in the entire wardrobe, and asked, "Tell me, which dress should I choose?" After hearing this and looking at the various dresses in the entire wardrobe, Suliang was speechless. "How about you come to me for this kind of thing? Anyway, this is considered a somewhat private matter, right? Compared to me, wouldn't it be better for you to let Benjao make the choice?" To be honest, Suliang doesn't mind choosing clothes for his girlfriend at all. After all, she is his girlfriend and they have such a close relationship. But Tan Kinja, if you ask me to choose clothes for you, you don't treat me like an outsider, right? But he didn't expect it. Faced with his question, Tan Kinja was very confident. "What's the matter? Do you know that the eyes of the opposite sex are the purest? Yaor will only choose what she thinks looks good, but you are different. You will choose what I wear best." What you said makes sense. I really don't know how to refute it. Suliang was even more speechless. Seeing that Suliang still disagreed, Tan Kinja continued, "Suliang, you are my younger brother, why are there so many taboos? What's wrong, little brother?" Suliang retorted, "My little brother will grow up too. There are differences between men and women." Seeing Suliang's appearance, Tan Kinja blinked and casually joked, "Are you attracted to your girlfriend's master? Otherwise, why would you keep rejecting me over and over again?" "Impossible." Suliang decisively rejected it. "Madam, please be more careful. If your apprentice knows this, I'm afraid I won't even be able to get in the door tonight." Volume 1 Chapter 69, Abuse Dogs in Public, Your Goddess is My Girlfriend. But Suliang still couldn't escape the task of choosing clothes in the end, and Tan Kinja's request was agreed to. Immediately, Tan Kinja took out all the dresses in the closet and changed them one by one in front of Suliang, trying to choose what to wear for the banquet. The sets of gifts have different styles and patterns, but they all have complicated patterns and exquisite materials, showing their elegance and luxury. Coupled with Tan Kinja's mature and voluptuous figure, with the front and back curves, her beautiful face, although slightly cold, is full of charm. Every move, every frown, every smile, Tan Kinja is so beautiful that people can't bear to look away after just one glance. Suliang sighed as he watched Tan Kinja constantly changing her dress and posing in various poses in front of him. I have to say that even though Tan Kinja was still as cold as an iceberg when she put on these dresses, she still felt a little bit feverish. When people see it, they want to be hardened to show respect. Master is worthy of being a master, but my fairy girlfriend is not at the same level at all, just a little too far behind. But fortunately, I had just explored the quiet tunnel behind the White Pass with my girlfriend, and had lost hundreds of millions of elites. I was still in a sage state, and I didn't have any unnecessary thoughts or actions. So, no matter how Tan Kinja changes her clothes, she won't have any problems. After some preparations, Tan Kinja took Suliang and Qin Benjao and set off to attend the 100-sex celebrity banquet. The carriage moved forward, and in just half a day, the three of them arrived at their destination. That night, the banquet of celebrities from hundreds of sects has officially begun. Great masters from all sects have gathered here. The occasion is extraordinary. All kinds of outstanding genius disciples came here, led by the great masters of various sections. They were of all kinds, but they were all extremely arrogant. An elegant middle-aged man led his disciples here. This man is the master of the Fenglay Pavilion. He has extraordinary strength and is about to reach the peak of being a master. Whether it is personal strength or the strength of the sect, he is ranked among the top 100 sects. A rough drunkard, holding a wine gourd in his hand, walking unsteadily, pouring fine wine into his mouth as he walked. This person is the leader of the Sunset section. His cultivation level is no lower than that of the elegant middle-aged man before. He is addicted to alcohol. However, He has a special skill that can be used to understand the artistic conception of cultivation. The strength of the sect is also ranked among the top 100 sects. Various figures of all kinds kept walking into the banquet hall. But among them, the most eye-catching ones are undoubtedly those beauties. Whether it is the beautiful sect leader among the hundreds of sects, or the proud daughters of heaven with their own characteristics, they all attract everyone's attention. Then, in this case, the two beauties of the Tiandao sect have obviously become the focus of attention. As the crowd gradually moved forward, soon it was the Tiandao sect's turn to register. Tan Kinja is cool and enchanting. Although she is as cold as an iceberg, she has a mature charm that is hard to find in the world. When paired with her majestic temperament, she is like a queen. Qin Benjao is cold and holy. When she is around Suliang, most of that cold feeling disappears. Coupled with the pure white house dress and pure white silk, she is so stunning and unique that only the word fairy can describe it. Then, the master and disciple of Tiandao sect are both stunningly beautiful. They just appeared on the stage and immediately stunned the whole audience. The cold fairy and the cold queen, this combination, regardless of appearance, cultivation, and momentum, the two of them are also among the best among the hundreds of sects, almost leaving countless others behind, perfectly crushing everyone who attended the banquet. Naturally, the master and apprentice had only just appeared, but they successfully captured the focus of the audience. But Suliang, who was also from Tiandao sect, was caught between the two. Tan Kinja and Qin Benjao stood on either side of Suliang, making Suliang look special and instantly attracted countless eyes. Then, by the way, Suliang also became the center of attention. Everyone paid attention to Suliang, but they felt quite surprised. Someone whispered, speaking of which, it seems that only Tan Kinja and Qin Benjao came to the Tiandao sect in the past. Even the sect director Chang Shen never showed up. This is the Tiandao sect's first time bringing someone of the opposite sex here, right? I don't know where this man came from, so he was so valued by Tiandao sect that he was brought here. And before anyone else could speak, everyone saw it. Qin Benjao stretched out her hand to hold Suliang's arm, her soft and delicate body almost pressed against Suliang's body. Occasionally Suliang lowered his head and said something, and Qin Benjao's beautiful face lost its coldness and revealed a sweet smile. Everyone gasped in unison, feeling extremely shocked. Who is this man? Why are you treated so affectionately by Fairy Benjao? To know. In the past, although Qin Benjao also appeared, she always appeared as cold as a flower on a high mountain, noble and inviolable. Although not as cold as her master, she was also indifferent to everyone, making people afraid to approach and unable to approach. This was the first time they saw that this fairy was so intimate with a person of the opposite sex that she was willing to break the flower path with her own hands and hand it into the other person's hands. For the rest of their lives, the quiet flower fragrance would bloom only for this person. Could it be? This man is Fairy Benjao's boyfriend? Everyone looked at the two people who were extremely intimate. Although there was no definite evidence, they were already very sure about this guess. Everyone took their seats, the banquet began, and everyone began to have free activities while drinking and drinking. After all, this 100-sect celebrity banquet is also a place for each sect to make friends with others, so naturally there won't be so many rules and restrictions. And because of his close relationship with Qin Benjao, even if Suliang didn't make any move, he would naturally be targeted with hostility by the geniuses who followed him. Feeling the gazes coming from all directions, Suliang blinked, and then looked around, but there was not much panic in his heart. He naturally knows why these geniuses are hostile to him. After all, looking around, among the younger generation, his girlfriend's appearance, temperament, and cultivation are among the best, and she is miles ahead of others. Such a proud man will naturally become the most dazzling existence. Other geniuses may admire her, but Qin Binjao has become the goddess of many people. But Suliang was so close to their goddess that he even took her away. No one can tolerate this. But Qin Binjao didn't care at all about these people's hostility and targeting of Suliang. Not only did he not distance himself from Suliang in a symbolic way, but he became even more intimate. He held Suliang's arm and whispered something to Suliang in a low voice. His beautiful face was full of happy smiles. See this. Suliang also wrapped his arms around Qin Binjao's waist and let Qin Binjao lean into his arms. Are you envious, jealous, and want to target me? Okay. Then I will be generous and show my affection to you people. Then. The geniuses who saw the scene were instantly furious. Hey, bold Suliang, you are not a son of man, let Fairy Binjao go quickly. Volume 1 Chapter 70 Women become jealous, what's wrong with having a man? All the geniuses watched Suliang and Qin Binjao kiss each other, extremely intimate. The envy and jealousy in my heart almost overflowed. Wanting to replace Suliang was an ordinary thought. They felt that if they continued to watch, they might not be able to help themselves and step forward to attack Suliang. But everyone's patience has an end. After waiting for a long time, it was finally time for Qin Binjao to leave for something else. At this moment, everyone was completely relieved and no longer needed to watch Suliang and Qin Binjao's open and honest show of affection. But this son of Tiandao sect is really hateful. He just stole Fairy Binjao, but he dares to show off like this in front of us. He is deliberately making us uncomfortable. Tianjiao said angrily. The other Tianjiao nodded decisively, exactly, this son has done such a cruel thing, and he really deserves to be punished. Isn't he afraid of offending us because of this? My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Wo Meng. Chapter 58. Oh, no matter whether he is worried or not, in short, he has offended us. Today, we must not let him leave safely. Otherwise, my thoughts will not be smooth when I practice. Another Tianjiao gritted his teeth and said. These words attracted everyone's agreement. Obviously, these geniuses were so angry that they wanted to find fault with Suliang, who had snatched Qin Binjao and showed affection in front of them. As for finding trouble with Suliang, will Qin Binjao hate him? This is not something they consider. Then. Suddenly someone stood up and said, everyone, give this first opportunity to me. There was a cold smile on the Tianjiao's face. In the name of communication, I forced that guy to compete with me. I will definitely make that guy lose miserably, his reputation will be ruined, and he will no longer have the shame to stay with Fairy Binjao. After hearing this, everyone looked together. But they saw that the person speaking was actually Zhao Hongyun from Fenglai Pavilion. As the most powerful prodigy of Fenglai Pavilion who ranks among the top 100 sects, Zhao Hongyun's talent is unparalleled. Now that he is less than 20 years old, he has already half-stepped into the Xiantian realm and may break through at any time. Among all the geniuses, Zhao Hongyun's cultivation strength is enough to rank among the top. If he takes action, that little thief Suliang will definitely be no match. Then. Everyone agreed and applauded. See this. Zhao Hongyun turned around and walked in the direction of Suliang. However, he had just taken 2 steps when he was blocked by a fiery red fairy-like woman. The fiery red goblin signaled, Zhao Hongyun, I advise you to step back and get out of the way. Hearing this, Zhao Hongyun immediately frowned and said dissatisfied, what, you want to protect him? However, but he saw the fiery red goblin showing contempt as he pointed at Suliang's position and said, see for yourself. Looking over according to the guidance, Zhao Hongyun was immediately dumbfounded. I saw. The area around Suliang was so tight that he couldn't get in at all. Moreover, the people around him were all beautiful women of all kinds, each with their own merits and vying for beauty. Are you still planning to find trouble? Forget about finding trouble, let's talk about it when we can get closer to Sul Yang. What's going on? A mere genius from the Tiandao sect, why is he so popular? Forget it about Fairy Benjao, the beauties from other sects actually want to approach him. And what about us? It was deserted, a group of men gathered together, and there was not a single pretty girl to accompany them. How can I not compare to this Sul Yang? This moment, Zhao Hongyun's heart was about to collapse. The scene in front of him made him very confused. Surrounding Sul Yang in the middle, all the beauties from various sects talked non-stop and asked various questions in turn. Is your name Sul Yang? So, do you and Qin Benjao really have that kind of relationship? Sul Yang, how long have you been practicing and what is your cultivation level like? When did you join Tiandao sect? Also, how did you and Qin Benjao meet? All the beauties kept asking questions, almost asking all of Sul Yang's secrets. Actually, compared to the jealousy of those proud men, these beauties were truly curious about Sul Yang. After all, Qin Benjao is famous for her stunning beauty and coldness, and almost all of them, the pretty girls, know this very well. It was fine that Tiandao sect had never brought anyone of the opposite sex with them in the past, but when they came to this 100-sex celebrity banquet, they had no communication with anyone. Even if some genius or charming girl came up to talk to him, Qin Benjao wouldn't even look at him. And, according to what they heard, it seems that within the Tiandao sect, there is a person of the opposite sex who is familiar with Qin Benjao, and his name seems to be Lin. But the man with that surname has also been pursuing for a long time, but still can't succeed. At this point, even though all the beauties admired Qin Benjao in their hearts, and were even a little jealous, they did not think that she would be tempted one day. But this time, Qin Benjao brought someone of the opposite sex with her. They behaved intimately and hugged each other. This was obviously a sign of attraction. Then, all the beauties had extremely strong curiosity about Sul Yang. They all wanted to see what kind of person could be able to seduce the cold fairy who was like a flower on the mountain. Where did he get the charm that could take away so many arrogant and holy flowers? At the same time, Sul Yang gave these charming girls a strange desire to conquer. In the crowd, a charming girl, Xiao Didi, said, "Brother Sul Yang, why don't you come to my sect? If you can recruit a talented person like me, the sect will reward me. When the time comes, I will definitely thank you brother again." Sul Yang, I don't know when you have time. Let's make an appointment at a time and place to discuss cultivation insights together. Brother Sul Yang, why not let me join your Tiandao section? Of course, there are conditions. I want to live with you, how about it? Every word you say to me can seduce me. But since it was just their first meeting, they naturally didn't really have any feelings for Sul Yang. The reason for this is because this is the boyfriend of Fairy Benjao. If I could conquer him and steal the fairy's boyfriend, wouldn't that be a sideways revenge on the fairy? Plus Sul Yang's own appearance. He is relegated to immortality in white clothes and has a noble temperament. He is like a handsome young man in troubled times. It is easy to make people like him. In an instant, it attracted many proud women of heaven. Then, the 3 floors around Sul Yang were almost occupied by people, and there was no room for men to intervene. There is nothing that can be done about finding trouble or making friends. All the geniuses could only watch helplessly from the outside. Not only did I get Fairy Benjao, but I was also surrounded by so many stunning beauties. Although this guy is hateful, he is indeed popular. I have to say that the sourness is really sour, but the envy is also true envy. I really want to be you. If you can't even take revenge, you don't deserve to be jealous of Sul Yang. Being surrounded by a group of stunning beauties, it stands to reason that most people should be overjoyed. But Sul Yang couldn't bear the disturbance and felt like his head was getting big. These goblins are really capable of causing trouble. First, they wanted to ask Suliang a lot of questions. Naturally, Suliang couldn't answer their questions, so he just perfunctory and prevaricated them. After that, this group of goblins went even further, each one showing their full desire to conquer Suliang. For Suliang, these stunning beauties are simply killing him. If it was before, it would be fine, but now, he has his own fairy girlfriend, and he also has a close relationship with his girlfriend, the master. I am a married man, how could I be bewitched by people like you? Get out of here. But deep in the crowd, Suliang obviously couldn't say that, otherwise, he might destroy the friendly relationship between Tiandao sect and these charming sects. Then, Suliang had no choice but to continue to deal with it, feeling that he couldn't handle it at all. Gradually, even Suliang felt a little unable to bear it. And at this critical moment, on the last day, success or failure depends on this. Let's start with 20,000 words tonight. Remarks on the launch of Volume 1 #. We have finally reached the most critical step. At 12 o'clock tonight, there will be 20,000 words of VIP content. If you like it, don't miss it. Subscription will be the key to determining the future direction of a book. If you can't even spend a few cents on it, it really means that my writing is terrible. And your subscription will be the biggest motivation for me, and also the motivation for whether I can persist. Just last night, my girlfriend was nagging about how the books I wrote were too ordinary and it was hard to make a living with it. I still don't want to be taken care of by her. I really don't know what's good and what's good. I am very unwilling. A few thousand yuan is not enough to support myself. My girlfriend suddenly gave me a bank card, 5 digits. Spend it first. How could you humiliate me like this? I wanted to refute, but I didn't have the confidence to say this. 5 digits, for God's sake. How many readers must subscribe to reach the height? But how can I be willing to be taken care of like this? It's king to throw next month's royalties in her face. A real man should let the queen kneel on the bed. Closer to home, according to the previous reward requirements, if the monthly ticket exceeds 500, it will be 10,000 per day per week. It has been achieved so far, and there is still the last goal left. If the monthly ticket exceeds 1,000, it will be 10,000 per day per month. Give me a chance and I'll let you have a great time watching it during the summer vacation. Is it a good deal? Volume 1 #Chapter 71 I am my teacher, I am protecting your man. Seeing that Suliang was surrounded by a group of goblins, there was no way to escape. The crisp sound of footsteps suddenly echoed in everyone's ears. Followed by many arrogant women suddenly felt the pressure on themselves, and involuntarily developed a deep feeling of inferiority. And what was in front of them was. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 59. A cold and aloof queen. Overlooking all living beings. There is no one who can fight. Tan Qing's sudden arrival, with her powerful cold and majestic aura, made all the beauties unable to help but make way for her to get closer to Suliang. Arriving next to Suliang, Tan Qing said calmly, Suliang, I need you for something here, so come with me. Immediately. Then he took Suliang's arm very affectionately and brought Suliang to attention. With this look, he almost pressed his whole body against Suliang's body. But even so, Tan Qing's cold expression, her eyes with endless coldness and majesty, coupled with the queen-like aura that always revealed her majesty, instantly crushed all the beauties of various sects and courtesans. Facing the cold and beautiful woman who was already mature, the beauties all felt ashamed. In that case, I'll leave first. All the pretty girls bowed obediently, and then they all dispersed obediently. See this? Call. Suliang breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, he was finally relieved. If he was surrounded by them again like this, Suliang would be able to withstand it, but this feeling would always be a bit bad. After vomiting all the depression in his chest, Suliang thanked Tan Kinja. "Thank you, sister, for rescuing me. Fortunately, sister came in time, otherwise, I would have been really in danger." However, facing Suliang's thanks, Tan Kinja looked at him amusingly. "I've done you such a big favor. Even if I'm your sister, I'm just saying thank you verbally. Isn't it a bit too insincere? Have you figured out how to thank me?" Hearing this, Suliang was embarrassed again. "Madam, with your eyes and words like this, it's hard for me to think that you don't have bad intentions. A way to thank you? How about I give myself to you?" "Ah, ma'am, that's enough." After blinking, Suliang didn't say anything for a long time. He only felt that he was in danger, and it seemed that he had not yet been completely exposed. The international beauty was indeed driven away, but another one with a higher rank came. Is that okay? Seeing Suliang like this, Tan Kinja shook her head and said, "Okay, let's stop chatting. I have something I want to ask of you." "Sister, please speak." Suliang said decisively. "Next, you stay with me." Tan Kinja said calmly, as if she really didn't mean anything else. "On the surface, I am helping Yaoer and protecting her man. And secretly, I need you to help me stop socializing." At this point, Tan Kinja didn't say any more. But Suliang completely understood. Turning to look at the sect leaders, Suliang found that most of the male eyes were on Tan Kinja. Indeed, Tan Kinja is so beautiful, which is rare in the world, and she is blessed with the attribute of a wife, making her attractive. Not inferior to Qin Benjao in the slightest. Even if Tan Kinja is powerful and fearless, for the sake of the relationship between Tiandao sect and these sects, it is not appropriate to fall out with them directly. She really needs someone to help block the entertainment. Then, Suliang readily agreed. Immediately afterwards, Tan Kinja hugged Suliang's arm affectionately, led Suliang, and walked between the banquets, asking Suliang to help entertain. Along the way, Suliang really blocked a lot of entertainment and solved a lot of troubles. There were many people who wanted to pour wine into Tan Kinja, but Suliang stopped them and drank instead. And those who want to get close to Tan Kinja in the name of toasting, or even take the opportunity to do something, are completely unable to get close to Tan Kinja because of Suliang's existence. Now, Tan Kinja held an exquisite wine glass in her hand and tasted wine elegantly. Her red lips were stained with transparent wine, but they looked even more pink, bright, and attractive, and she looked quite sultry. And just then, seeing Suliang beside her, Tan Kinja suddenly wanted to tease her little brother. Then, Tan Kinja took another sip of the fine wine, deliberately leaving a few drops on her lips. Then she spit out her fragrant tongue and licked it gently, and her slender hand touched Suliang's lips intimately. "This is rare. Fine wine, do you want to have a taste?" Facing Tan Kinja who looked like this, Suliang was speechless. He finally discovered that Tan Kinja was becoming more and more unscrupulous. But he just didn't have the ability to resist. What else can be done? Since you can't resist, you can only enjoy it. After a while, Qin Benjao settled the matter and returned here. However, at a glance, Qin Benjao saw her master holding her man, with her proud pair of peaks clinging tightly to her body. Stepping forward, Qin Benjao asked in confusion, "Master, why are you and Suliang?" "Ahem." Tan Kinja coughed lightly, and then calmly explained, "Your boyfriend is quite charming. After you left, you attracted countless beauties from all walks of life to approach him. I'm doing this for my teacher to help my boyfriend fend off those monsters. Otherwise, who knows if he will be taken away." Hearing this, Qin Binjao was immediately moved. She immediately sat down next to Tan Kinja and held Tan Kinja's arm. "Master, you are so kind to me." Faced with her disciple's gratitude, Tan Kinja smiled and said nothing, just nodding her head pretending to be profound. But on the other side, the slender hand stretched out and quietly squeezed Suliang's hand on the other side. "Madam, what are you doing? This is in front of your apprentice, how can you be so courageous? Could it be that this is the so-called naughty sister? But is this naughtiness too much?" Looking at Tan Kinja's pretending to be profound, Suli was speechless. "My girlfriend's master wanted me to call her sister, so I became my girlfriend's master uncle, but my sister always treated me like this. Maybe, if this continues, one day he will become his girlfriend's master?" Thinking in his mind, Suliang felt that the current relationship was really getting more and more confusing. Moreover, it was gradually developing in an uncontrolled direction, but he had no way to stop it. The 100 sex celebrity banquet ended successfully, and Tan Kinja took Suliang and Qin Binjao and immediately returned to Tiandao sect. After returning to the sect, Tan Kinja felt extremely happy. Until she returned to her boudoir, her face was no longer cold, with a faint smile. Although it was just a very faint smile, compared with her usual cold posture, it was already very difficult. And the source of this joy is Suliang. Volume 1 Chapter 72 The beautiful woman's mentality collapsed when she saw another side of her apprentice. After spending these days with Suliang, Tan Kinja found that teasing Suliang made her particularly happy. Especially under the watchful eye of her apprentice, she teased Suliang in every possible way, which made her even more happy. For example, in the past, when I was educating apprentices, there was also a banquet for hundreds of celebrities. The pleasurable feeling is so addictive that you want to do it again. But this joyful emotion cannot be retained forever. When the joy in my heart dissipated, a feeling of guilt followed. After all, Suliang is his apprentice's man. Looking at his apprentice's appearance, he obviously loves Suliang very much. But he was actually so close to the man who was his apprentice, teasing him in every possible way. As a role model to others, you really shouldn't do this. No matter how happy I am, this behavior is wrong. Then, after sitting in the boudoir for a while, Tan Kinja couldn't sit still anymore, so she got up and left the boudoir, wanting to find her apprentice and have a long talk. But when she walked outside the door of Qin Binjao's room, she suddenly heard the strange sound coming from her apprentice in the room. Frowning slightly, Qin Binjao did not choose to push the door open, but approached the door and looked in along the crack of the door. Then, Tan Kinja immediately witnessed another side of her apprentice. I saw. In the room, the two people who had been back for a long time were hugging each other. Qin Binjao's silver hair was messy, and she was hugging Suliang cross-legged. The palace skirt was still on her body, but it had become messy. The pair of proud peaks were no longer restrained. Following Suliang's movements, Qin Binjao swayed back and forth, her beautiful eyes gradually blurred, her cheeks turned red, and her eyebrows were full of charm. Is this still his cold disciple? And, how could they do this? Moment. This scene made Tan Kinja flustered. Without much consideration, almost instinctively, Tan Kinja turned around and ran away quickly. But when she returned to her boudoir, she still felt uncomfortable and depressed, as if something that should belong to her had been taken away by someone else first. The uncontrollable irritability echoed in her heart for a long time and lingered. Suliang has a natural relationship with Yao. It is only natural that he should do this kind of thing. Tan Kinja whispered to herself, trying to convince herself. But, no matter how she tried to convince herself, she knew that her apprentice and Suliang were not at fault at all, but in her heart, she just felt very unhappy and couldn't accept it. At this moment, My villain wants to clear his name, but he awakens Cao Thief Simulator. Author, Fangzone Womeng. Chapter 60. But she suddenly remembered the memory from her dream. In the dream, just the fairies surrounding Liang also made Qingya very unhappy. But what about now? The picture she saw herself was even more exciting. Those female demons were just pestering Liang, but their apprentice was sheathing his sword with Sul Yang. After a few days, Chang Sheng, the director of Tiandao sect, finally came out of seclusion. Sul Yang, who was running around in the sect, accidentally met Ren Changsheng on the road. Seeing Sul Yang, Ren Changsheng greeted him kindly. "Sul Yang, I haven't seen you for a few days. Your cultivation has improved again. Looking at your direction, are you going to practice?" Seeing Ren Changsheng greeting him, even though he had always suspected or even confirmed that Ren Changsheng had been targeting him, Sul Yang still pretended to be ignorant and replied, "The sect master is ridiculous, the disciple is just going to practice." And just then, the system's voice suddenly appeared, "Warning, warning, target Ren Changsheng, medium protagonist's fate detected. Currently, the destiny is in a darkened state." At this moment, the system's voice was more urgent than ever. How could Ren Changsheng have a destiny? The system never prompted me. And the fate of a middle-class protagonist? Isn't this Lin Feng's fate from before? Could it be that Ren Changsheng robbed Lin Feng of the fate of the protagonist? I see. At this moment, Sul Yang finally concluded what was wrong with Ren Changsheng's previous attack on him. It turned out that he had always planned to snatch Lin Feng's fate, but Lin Feng was forced to jump off a cliff by him. His plan failed, so he naturally turned against him. And the reason why he has been so quiet recently is that he must be trying to seize and refine Lin Feng's fate. But this information is not of much use to Lin Feng for the time being, just know it. In comparison, Sul Yang was actually more curious about the other party's fate. After asking, the system explained, current detectable range, low, medium, high. Why are there still 3 question marks? Co-authorship, are there other levels above the advanced level? That means the fate of the average protagonist is actually quite average. But even if the level is low, this is still the fate of the protagonist. The strong luck it carries, coupled with the cultivation of the previous longevity, and the scheming forbearance. I'm afraid it will be extremely difficult to deal with. Instantly, Sul Yang felt a sense of crisis. Then, after separating from Ren Changsheng, Sul Yang immediately went to Tan Qingjia's place. After walking into the boudoir and sitting down, Sul Yang took the initiative to ask, "Sister, do you know the origin and background of the sect leader? You have been together for 10 years. Sister, you should be very familiar with the sect master, right? In that case, can you tell me about the sect master?" However, Sul Yang didn't expect that his normal way of understanding the enemy would directly make Tan Qingjia irritable. Unable to maintain even the coolness on the surface, Tan Qingjia looked irritated and inexplicable. "Sul Yang, why do you always mention Ren Changsheng in front of me? Is it possible that you are reminding me on purpose to make me remember my identity?" Hearing this, Sul Yang was stunned. "Where is this? I just want to know more about the enemy so that I can deal with it later. Why does it become a reminder of your identity? Sister, have you misunderstood something?" Sul Yang opened his mouth and wanted to explain. However, Tan Qingjia stood up decisively and left coldly. Looking at the frost covering her face, and the cold and majestic aura exuding from her whole body, it is obvious that she has returned to her former queen's posture. "Meet at the Tao Tower in the afternoon." Tan Qingjia only left one sentence and then disappeared. Sul Yang was left alone and stunned. Not to mention why Tan Qingjia fell out so quickly. "Sister, this is your room, where are you going?" "In the afternoon." Outside the Laotian Tao Tower, When Suliang arrived, Tan Kinja was already waiting here. However, facing Suliang's arrival, Tan Kinja lost her usual teasing thoughts and returned to her former cool appearance. Volume 1 Chapter 73 The Worst Assist in History, A Beautiful Woman's First Kiss. That beautiful face was full of coldness, the eyes looking at Suliang were full of indifference, and the aura around him was majestic and cold. Go in. Tan Kinja said lightly, her attitude towards Suliang was particularly unfamiliar. It was as if the two of them were just strangers who had just met, and bringing Suliang to practice was just a routine matter. Ahem. Suliang coughed lightly, sister. But as soon as he opened his mouth, Tan Kinja interrupted him directly, don't call me sister again in the future. Suliang felt a little helpless. He didn't even know why things developed like this. I just asked about Ren Changsheng. Who knew that Tan Kinja would misunderstand him like this? Moreover, because of this misunderstanding, the relationship has become as unfamiliar as it is now. Although Tan Kinja, who always made fun of herself no matter what happened, was really hard to resist. But obviously, it's better than the cold queen she is now, right? Then. Suliang said helplessly, I think I can explain that this should be a misunderstanding. However, Tan Kinja didn't listen to Suliang at all, no need. You should concentrate on the assessment first. Seeing Tan Kinja not even looking at him, Suliang became even more helpless, but he could only agree, okay. Immediately. He stepped into the Tao Tower with one step, followed closely by Tan Kinja. Suliang had already passed through the gravity bamboo forest and the confused heart bridge on the first 2 floors once. Even if he tried it again, it wouldn't be of much help to him. Then, Suliang and Tan Kinja went directly to the 3rd floor. Even though she was very unfamiliar with Suliang, Tan Kinja still explained dutifully, on the 3rd floor of the Tao Tower, there are many puppets from various realms. Those who participate in the trial and assessment need to fight against the agency puppets of the same realm here. Your cultivation level is the 9th level of Zozang. When you step into it, a puppet of the 9th level of Zozang will appear. Go ahead and concentrate on the assessment. Suliang nodded, and then stepped into the range of the puppet battle. Moment. Zozang Zhozhong's puppet appeared in front of him, and without saying a word, he took action against Suliang. Suliang, who was well prepared, used his methods to deal with the enemy, and the two of them instantly got into a fight. Suliang, who possesses many means, is naturally not comparable to the puppets of the same realm. Even if Suliang wants to exercise his combat ability and put some restrictions on the use of his means, he will not be able to defeat the puppets. Then. This battle went very smoothly. However, soon, something unexpected happened. Ren Changsheng, who was following Suliang and Tan Kinja together, was hiding outside the Taoist tower at the moment. When he saw Suliang fighting against the puppet, his eyes immediately flashed with strong murderous intent. Immediately, Ren Changsheng, who was hiding in the dark, took action decisively, controlling the puppet from the air, and instantly made the puppet go berserk. This time, the power of the puppet is no longer limited, it skyrockets in an instant, and its speed and strength are more than twice as high as before. As for Suliang, who was fighting the puppet, the difficulty he faced instantly doubled. Suliang dodged the attack of the puppet and looked at the puppet in front of him with some confusion. How do you feel that this puppet suddenly became much stronger? Shaking his head, Suliang continued, but it doesn't matter. A puppet of this level can't cause me any trouble. A gentleman hides his edge. With a soft drink, Junzi Zhangfeng was activated instantly. The sharp sword energy, which was nourished by the aura of the human king and stimulated by the returning energy of the underworld, bloomed with bright light and killed the puppet. Boom! After a loud roar, even though the puppet had more than doubled its strength, it was still not enough to see this move. In an instant, it exploded and the pieces were scattered. Seeing this scene, Ren Changshen, who was hiding in the dark, was slightly surprised. This Su Liang should be just a 9th level builder, right? The 9th level Zhang puppet after going berserk is difficult to deal with even the ordinary 1st level and 2nd level innate ones. However, Su Liang actually killed him instantly with one move. How terrifying is his strength! But